Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 29th October 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 6 topics which are very much relevant to our UPSC. Actually, today's paper is full of this COP26. So, we are going to discuss those topics after once this COP is done, because we can get some authenticated information actually after this COP is done. Okay. So, let's see the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first topic is about our COP, okay, COP26. So it is about what are the topics that India are going to stress in this COP26. So we need to have some idea, right? So here we are going to see what are the important ideas of COP26 regarding India. So what are the important things which we are going to place? So that is about this topic, and this will be important from our environment and ecology, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3. And next topic is about Dharmani portal. Okay, actually this Dharmani portal which belongs to state of Telangana. But why I choose this topic for our discussion, because so in governance we have separate topic called as e-governance. So in this e-governance, we can add as many examples or case studies as possible. For example, what are the land records, that is electronic land records in Karnataka, in state of Telangana. So like that, so this Dharmani portal, it is mainly example of e-governance. It is regarding land registration portal, right? So now we are going to discuss that. This is about land records, okay, electronic land records. So you can add this article as a case study whenever you are writing answer for this e-governance. And next topic, it is about key US lawmakers bat for this KASA sanctions. So what happened now? We are going to get AS-400 missile system from Russia. So whenever we are going to get this missiles from Russia, India may attract under this KASA. KASA, it is Countering American Adversaries Through Sanction Act of USA. Already we discussed this topic number of times, and now let us try to talk what is this article talking about. So this will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. And many people, they will say that this is KASA. So no one says that what will sanctions which will be imposed once any country which is attracted under this KASA. Now we are going to discuss that. And next one is about Facebook. Facebook changed their name, but this article, it is not much relevant to UPSC, but if you are preparing for any state public service examination, so this will be very important. Okay, so because of that, we are going to just 2 or 3 lines of this Facebook. And next topic, it is about a climate dividend. It is about again our COP26. And next topic is about early childhood education. So this is one of the favorite topic, and I liked this topic the most. And in this topic, author mainly said about reality what happened. Okay. So this early childhood education will be important from our education, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. So in this article, we are mainly talking about how parents and how our education system, which is mainly neglecting this early childhood education during this COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. So now let's get started with our discussion, and let us see first topic. Title says India will stress climate justice a global summit. Okay. So it is mainly talking about this climate justice. So first you need to understand here what is this climate justice and why we are mainly focusing on this climate justice instead of this net zero or carbon neutrality. Right? So this is the article, and we are going to see what our minister is going to be put forth in this COP26. So this article will be important from our environment and ecology, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3. Right? If you see context, it mainly says that India mainly will focus on this climate justice. Okay. So in this climate justice, whenever we want to address this global warming challenge, so for example, we are having developed countries and we are having this developing countries. So developed countries, they came up with this industrial revolution long back ago. But now these developing countries, they are coming up with this industries, factories, manufacturing units, etc. So now what happened? Already these developed countries, they released as much as possible emissions into our atmosphere. So because of this releasing of this emissions into our atmosphere, that is leading to global warming. Okay, that already led to global warming, that already led to rising of our temperature, global temperature. And now whenever these developing countries, now they want to fight against poverty, now they want to fight against malnutrition and some inbuilt problems in their countries, and whenever they are focusing on this manufacturing now, and these countries says that no, we should not go for building, or we can say like go for industries or industrial revolution. But how far it is fair? How far it is fair? So already these developed countries, they went for industrial revolution long back ago, and they released as much as possible emissions into atmosphere. And now these developed countries, they are saying these developing and as well as least developed countries not to go for industries. Okay, so if these developing countries and as well as if these developed countries, if they are not focusing on manufacturing or not focusing on industries or industrial revolution, so these countries, they will not come out of their problems, inbuilt problems like poverty. As you all know, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so there are number of reports, that is example Pew Research report says that there is increasing of people, there is increased people who went back to below poverty line, and there is increased poverty, increased malnutrition. So because of COVID-19 induced lockdown, schools has been closed down. So whenever these schools had been closed down, so that will impact on health of children, because there is no midday meal scheme, right? So because of all these things, the inbuilt problem in those countries like developed and least developed countries, they will be increased. And not only that, these developed countries says that developing countries, they need to adopt some policies mainly to reduce global warming. But if you see in these developing countries and least developed countries, they do not have proper finances, right? So what are the finance they are having? So it is not full, they are using those. Okay, I can say like, so what are the finances that are present with these developing and as well as least developed countries? That is not enough for dealing challenges which are inbuilt challenges in those countries. And how can these countries, they will extract some finances and they come up with these policies to combat this global warming, right? So in this context, according to this Paris climate deal, they came up with this NDCs, right, national determined contributions. So apart from that, they also came up with some important thing like technology transfer. So why technology transfer? So these developing countries and least developed countries, they do not have proper technology. So here developed countries, they are already having technology that need to be transferred to these developing countries, and as well as least developing countries, mainly to fight against this climate change. And not only this, here developed countries, they need to provide some finances, that is differential combined by differential contributions. Okay, so this is the thing that mainly came up in this Paris climate deal. So these are the things which are mainly put forth by India. So in India, we are mainly focusing on this climate justice, and as well as India, which is going to focus on transfer of finance and as well as technology, which is necessary to fight against this global warming. So this is to be done from these developed countries, right? So this is the thing which mainly said by our environment minister to this Hindu. So if you are talking about details furthermore, it mainly says that in forthcoming COP, okay, that is Conference of Parties 26, that is going to be held in this Glasgow. So in this COP 26, so they are mainly focusing on these developing countries. For example, India, they need some finances, they need transfer of technology, especially for mitigating of these carbon emissions, right? And here our India, it is also going to show what is our commitment regarding this renewable energy. So we came up with this commitment to install 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. So here we are going to have commitment. Already we came up with our commitment, that is 2022. By 2022, we need to install 175 gigawatts of capacity of renewable energy. So now already we reached this 100 gigawatts. So we are very much near to reach our target of 2022. So because of this, we came up with a new target year, that is 2030. So by 2030, we need to install at least 450 gigawatts of this renewable energy capacity installations in India. So we are going to mainly put forth that. And next one is, there was also similar acknowledgement of India's electric vehicle policy. So recently India also came up with this electric policy, right? So in this electric policy, we are mainly giving some incentives. Okay, we are mainly giving some incentives. So whenever we are government is giving incentives, that will helps or that will boost people to adopt this transition from this petrol vehicles or diesel vehicles towards this electric vehicles. And we also came up with this national hydrogen policy, that is green hydrogen. So these are some important steps which are taken by Indian government mainly to fight against this global warming, right? So here these are the steps which are taken by India, which were in line mainly to achieve our targets and nationally determined contributions that we came up in this 2015 Paris climate deal, right? And if you see some important points which are given in this article, it mainly says that the COP26 is expected to be fractious with many developed countries. So here in this COP26, we can see many developed countries like UK, US, they will be present, right? So these developed countries, they mainly push for deadlines of this net zero. But if you are talking about India's idea regarding this net zero, so we didn't came up with any deadline regarding achieving of this carbon neutrality or net zero, right? So if you're talking about some countries like China and as well as USA, so USA is a first emitter of this carbon emissions into the atmosphere, and second largest emitter here is China, and third is our India. So these two countries, first and the second largest emissions of this carbon dioxide or carbon emissions, so they came up with pledging of carbon neutrality, right? So these two countries, they mainly said that they will achieve carbon neutrality by 2060 and 2050 respectively. But India didn't came up with this. So this is the one important thing that we need to talk about, right? So if you're talking about what is this climate justice, it is a term which mainly used for framing global warming. So global warming, it is ethical and as well as political issue, rather than when we are seeing about this climate justice as an environmental issue. That means, so if you are talking about global warming, so global warming, it is not only environment related issue, but it is also ethical issue and as well as political issue. So because of this is called as a climate justice. So now let us try to understand some facts regarding this net zero or net carbon neutrality. So if you are talking about this carbon neutrality, it is also called as net zero. So this is the one important thing that you need to know. So if you're talking about net zero, means it is nothing like decreasing of emissions, okay, or to decrease our emissions to zero, but here net zero means how much amount of carbon dioxide, okay, is emitted, okay. For example, how much amount of greenhouse gases or carbon emissions which are released is equal to amount of greenhouse gases or carbon emissions which are absorbed. So this is called as carbon neutrality. So you have to write this equation. So carbon neutrality is equal to amount of greenhouse gases or carbon emissions released is equal to amount of greenhouse gases or carbon emissions which are absorbed, okay, from atmosphere. So this is about our carbon neutrality. So now let us try to address, so why India it is not coming with this deadline of this net zero. So if you are talking about answer for this question, so what might be the answer? So if you are talking about India, it is the world's third largest emitter of this greenhouse gases. So first one it is USA, second one is China, and third one is India itself. So India, which is mainly opposing to come up with this deadline or target of this carbon neutrality because of some reasons. So why? Because India, as we all know, India it is a developing countries, and in this developing countries they are facing some inbuilt challenges like poverty, and we can say unemployment, which is very much increasing. And not only unemployment and poverty, there is malnutrition, Okay, so these are some inbuilt problems that we are facing in India. For example, regionalism, communalism, now recently vandalism that we are facing. So these all are the challenges that our government of India is facing. So over next 2 to 3 decades, India's emissions, they are likely to grow at a very faster pace, because whenever we want to go for setting up of manufacturing units, or whenever we are going for industrial revolution, then what happened here? So why we are going towards manufacturing? Because to create employment. So as you all know, most of the youth, okay, who completed their graduation, for example, if you take BTech students, so many of you who are watching this video are also BTech students, right? So even though if you completed your graduation, you are not getting suitable job opportunities, right? So even I can say one example, like in our state, especially in Telangana, so some ministers, they are commenting like, so we will provide fishes, okay, and this is also one type of employment. So even students who completed their graduation, they can go for taking of any backloads, or like we are providing fishes and as well as sheep. So this is also one type of employment creating. So if you want to go for growing of fishes, if you want to go for growing of goats and sheep, so why you need to complete your graduations big universities, right? Big colleges. So this is the one question that always pop up in my mind. So let me know what is your opinion regarding this question I posed, because this type of questions you can experience in your interview, right? And if you're talking about these challenges what we are facing, so over the next 2 or 3 decades, India emissions, they are going to grow at a very much faster pace in the world. So because of this, okay, why we are coming up with this type of manufacturing, or when we are going for increasing of emissions? Because mainly the important aim, it is to bring millions of people from poverty. So whenever we want to bring people from poverty, especially, we need to go for create employment. So we can create employment in agriculture, or we can create employment in manufacture, we can create employment in service sector. So what happened in manufacturing sector, if we are investing very much less, also we can go for create employment opportunities very large. So even though if we want to expand our agriculture it is also releasing greenhouse gases, for example methane, and if you are going for animal husbandry also, it is mainly releasing greenhouse emissions. So in every sector, like primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, when we want to create employment, means automatically it will leads to increase in the greenhouse gas emissions. So because of this, we didn't came up, or we are mainly opposing this carbon neutrality. And next one is, there is no amount of afforestation or reforestation that would be able to compensate increase in emissions. For example, if you are releasing lot of amount of emissions, so if you are going for in the same way reforestation, urban reforestation, or when you are going for afforestation, so this much of amount of emissions that will not going to absorb by this forest. There will be no amount of reforestation or afforestation that would mainly able to compensate this increased level of emissions. So this is also second concern. And next one is, most of the carbon removal technologies, they are right now which is present, they are unreliable, and even they are very much expensive to install them. So because of all these challenges, India which is mainly opposing to come up with this deadline for this carbon neutrality. So this is in detail regarding this topic, and I hope it is at most clear. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says Dharmani portal completes 1 year. So we are going to talk about this Dharmani portal. So it is a one of important, I can say, like e-governance. Okay, e-governance case study. Under this e-governance case study, you can add about this Dharmani portal. And let me know some of the e-governance initiatives which are come up by different states in comment box. So that will be at most important from your mains point of view actually. So now let us see this topic in a very great detail. So if you're talking about context, okay, so if you're talking about context, it mainly says that Dharmani portal, it is a first of its kind. It is one-stop solution. It is one-stop solution for land related issues. It is regarding land related issues, which mainly came up by which state? That is Telangana state. So you can also expect question like, So recently Dharmani portal is seen in news, which is an initiative of which state, and you can get options like Kerala, Karnataka, Telangana and Madhya Pradesh like that. So you have to select correct option. So here Dharmani portal, which is an initiative of state of Telangana. So why it is in news? Because so it mainly completes 1 year, and within this 1 year it came up with a registration of over 1 million properties. Okay, so within 1 year it came up with this registration of 1 million properties. It is a great success, I can say. So if you are talking about details, it mainly says that it is the one of its kind integrated land record management system. So it is mainly integrated land record management system, and in this management system we are going for recording of land and as well as our property. So the property details which are not updated on this portal, they will be treated as illegal and will not be allowed for further registrations or mutation. So if you are not going for registration under this Dharmani, if you have property or if you are having land, whenever we are not going for registration under this Dharmani portal, then it will be invalid or illegal. And this one is why government came up, that is Telangana state government came up with this type of land portal, because mainly to reduce loopholes in registration process. And the important aim of this Dharmani portal, it is to end encroachments of government lands and as well as other private properties. Okay, so all the government, endowment and as well as work lands, they have been landlocked under this registrations under this Dharmani portal. And here this Dharmani portal mainly developed by NIC, National Informatics Center. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us move on to next topic. It is about our KASA. So key US lawmakers, they bat for KASA sanction waiver. So some key initiatives, or we can say like key lawmakers, they are mainly continuously supporting our India to get waiver under this KASA, because this is our S-400 missile. We are going to get this S-400 missile from Russia. So here you need to understand what is this KASA. KASA, it is nothing but countering American adversaries through Sanction Act. Okay, and we need to know some facts regarding this KASA. So why US government came up with KASA, and what will be the sanctions which are mainly levied under this KASA. So that thing you need to remember. And now let us try to understand what is article, and your homework it is, please refer about this S-400 Triumph missile system. So already we discussed this topic number of times, and now it is the time to revise. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations, and regarding this S-400 you can also talk under this defense, which comes under our GS paper 3. So these are the different dimensions of this topic. And now let us try to see context. So key lawmakers mainly continue to voice against their support for sanction waiver for India. So some key members of lawmakers in USA, they are mainly providing some support for India. Okay, so India it is going to purchase S-400 missile defense system from Russia. So whenever India which is going to purchase this S-400 missile system from Russia, so India will be attracted under this KASA. So because of this, key lawmakers, they are mainly supporting India should not attract under this KASA. So if you are talking about details, it mainly says that India it is likely to begin taking delivery of this S-400 Triumph missiles in month of November, that is next month. So because of this, now India it is in a danger to attract under this KASA. So under this KASA, India can impose, okay, India can be imposed sanctions by USA. So KASA it is nothing but countering American adversaries through Sanctions Act. So if we are talking about some facts regarding this KASA, so it is countering America's adversaries through Sanction Act. So it is United States of America, that is USA's federal law. So here this USA federal law which mainly impose sanctions on 3 countries. Okay, first one it is Iran, second one is North Korea, and third one is Russia. So on these three countries, USA mainly impose sanction. So any country which is coming up with any deals with these three countries, so those countries will be attracted under this KASA. So on these countries which are coming up deal with these three countries, they will be also get a sanctions which mainly imposed by USA. So this is nothing but this KASA. So if you are talking about some key features of this KASA, so under this KASA section 231. So section 231 of KASA, which mainly says that at least 12 sanctions they are described in section 235. They will be imposed on a person or country who is knowingly engaged or operates on a behalf of Russian defense or intelligence sector. So what happens, so whenever any other country knowing that this country which is under the list of KASA, whenever any country which is coming up with any engage or operations regarding defense, then they will be attracted under this KASA. So if you are talking about this section 235 of this KASA Act, so there will be 5 sanctions that will be imposed. So those 5 sanctions regarding prohibition, there will be no granting of US export license for goods or technology. So if you want to get goods or technology from US, so there will be prohibition, there will be no license that will be granted. And next one is prohibition of loans or credit by US financial institutions for a period of 12 months, that is for 1 year there will be no loans. And next one is ban on assistance from US Export-Import Bank. So from US Export-Import Bank also there will be ban on assistance, and that is help. And next one is requirement for US to impose loans from international financial institutions. So wherever we are getting some finance from, for example, international institutions, so from those international institutions we are not going to get appropriate loans. And so this visa restrictions will also be implied. So these are 5 sanctions which mainly imposed. And now let us try to see what will be the impact if India which mainly attracted under this KASA. As you all know, so India and USA, they are major defense partners, and even India and USA, they are mainly engaged in, for example, Quad. And India, US have different military exercises, different naval exercises. Right, in Indo-Pacific region also there is increasing influence of USA that is mainly seen. So because of this, KASA will mainly impacts India-US ties. Okay, it is going to cause some damage to image of USA being a reliable partner for India. Okay, and also a key player in Indo-Pacific region. And the defense trade between India and US, that has grown recently. So because of this, there will be some effect on this India defense relations with USA. So this will be some impact that we need to take into consideration. And now let us move on to next topic. It is about Facebook. Facebook changes parent company name to Meta. So if you are preparing for any state public service commission examinations, so you can get a question like, so recently Meta is seen in news, what it is related to, and they will be giving options which are related to science and technology also. For example, recent asteroid which mainly found, or we can say like a recent exoplanet. So in that way you will be giving you 4 options, you have to select the correct option. So here Meta, it is nothing but, so Facebook changed its company name. So I think many of students, they might be laughing at me like, so why ma'am mainly came up with this type of article? There is no need of explaining this article. So many students, they will be having this idea. But one thing here I can say here is, many students who are especially serious aspirants, seriously preparing for this UPSC, they will be staying away from Facebook and some social media platforms. So for those students, I am saying that here Facebook mainly changed its name to Meta. So many students, they might be using this Facebook in their might be using this Facebook, and it is one of the important social media platform which will be helpful mainly to get connected, okay, to stay connected, right? So though many people they are using and many people know this, I want to say this for especially students who are mainly staying away from social media, and I don't want any student to don't know about some important facts that might be important from your UPSC and as well as your State Public Service Commission examinations. And now let us move on to next topic. It is about a climate dividend. So it is mainly talking about net zero commitment. So already I discussed about what is this net zero and what are the challenges which India is facing. So now let us try to understand this article in a very great detail, and this article gives some insights regarding this COP26. So now let us try to see this topic. It is very important from our GS paper 3 under environment and ecology, and this topic will be exclusively important from our mains. So now let us try to see central theme. So while a net zero commitment can be avoided, India stands to gain from an energy transition. So recently, I think 4 days ago, we discussed about this energy transition plan. And for students who joined this current affairs package, I already gave you a question regarding this. Write a note on this India's energy transition plan. That means we are mainly trying to move towards electric vehicles. So regarding electric vehicles, what are the incentives which are came up by government, and what is this green hydrogen policy? And also we need to write about India's renewable energy targets, right? So why we are moving, so you can add a note on that. So regarding this article, which mainly says that rather than coming up with this net zero commitments, so we need to focus on this energy transition. So now let us try to see what is this article talking about. So now we know that COP26 it is going to be held. Okay, it is our United Nations Convention on Climate Change, which is mainly going to be held in Glasgow. So because of this, many countries, they are mainly focusing on this net zero or carbon neutrality. So many countries, they are mainly focusing on this net zero or carbon neutrality, and India didn't came up with deadline regarding this carbon neutrality. India, which is mainly focusing on climate justice, and as well as to decrease this global warming, and as well as we are mainly focusing on diverse things like energy transition, rather than here we are focusing on this net zero emissions. So here what happened, India also came up with a global carbon budget. So in this budget, it is mainly focusing on our estimated future, okay, estimated future emissions. For example, global average, we are coming up with global average of our temperature rise that should be kept in a safe limits. Okay, so those safe limits here is 2 degrees, or we can say 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is under our Paris climate deal, and it should be shared by not only India but also almost all the countries. So this is the thing we are mainly focusing on. And if you see China and US, European Union, they came up with this deadlines for this carbon neutrality, and also here they came up with the budget, and in this budget they mainly going to occupy the big share of for example 420 to 580 gigatons of carbon dioxide. And if you are talking about India, which is mainly relying on historical energy poverty, and as well as we are facing number of challenges like there is no proper infrastructure, we are facing underdevelopment, and we are also facing low per capita emissions, right? So we are also focusing on this low per capita emissions. So because of all these things, we can convince this COP26 that we can't come up with this net zero emissions now at present. Okay, so we can explain about reality of condition which is present in India to adopt this net zero emissions. So if you're talking about immediate leap to this net zero, may it be avoided. But here in this Glasgow, here core message, here we need to deliver, here it is about promised $100 billion a year from 2020. So whenever we are getting this climate financing, that will be helpful, especially for the poor countries to come up with this climate change initiatives, right? And India, we can talk about what are the transition plans we came up. For example, you can talk about there is higher levies on this automobile or automotive fuels, and we can also focus on how government is focusing to come up with this incentives for this affordable electric vehicles or electric mobility. And we can talk about what is this BS6 norms that we are following, and why we skipped this BS5 norms and directly enter into this BS6. And you can also talk about national hydrogen policy. Okay, so these are some important things that you can focus there. And next one is here many national scientific advisors, they argued that we can come up with a joint statement on eve of this United Nations climate conference here, that So here we need to focus on precise technology, precise socio-economic and as well as financial policies, and we need to focus on especially requirements that to demonstrate our commitment to this 1.5 degrees centigrade goal that we came up with this Paris climate deal. So these are the things that we need to focus. And if you're talking about need, what can be done here is, so country must seize the moment and we need to present some convincing plans before this COP26 such that we can attract climate finance, such that we can come up with a proper infrastructure, etc. Finally, that will help in reducing of this carbon dioxide emissions. And next one is, if there is a severe floods and as well as droughts and more frequent storms, so these are the events which mainly caused because of irreversible climate change here is, so whenever we are having these floods, droughts and as well as more frequent storms, so here they mainly erode assets of citizens, assets of government and assets of our future India. So because of this, we need to pay a proper sight today. We need to avoid those situations. So this is just of this topic and I hope it is very much clear. Now let us try to see next topic. A title says getting the focus back on early childhood education. So this is a topic I like the most, and this author mainly talked reality what is happening around. So this article mainly talking about early childhood education, that is ECE in short. So this will be important from our education point of view, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2, and this topic it is very important from our mains. So one question I want to ask before start discussing this topic here is, so if you have children in your home, for example, the children he is like 10th class or plus 2, one child is 10th class or plus 2 and one child even he didn't go to school and he is like 3 to 4 years age. So for which child education you will be going to give your priority? Either for your kid who is 3 to 4 years or for your elder child who is in 10th class or plus 2. So obviously you will be giving priority for your elder child, not younger child. So the same thing which is said in this article. So it is a reality actually. So even I will also share my experiences with my kids. So how they used to behave, everything in the course of discussion. Okay. Then you can understand, yes, what are the problems which are facing by parents. Okay. So if you are talking about this early child education, so early child education is very important and it is very crucial to the overall development of children. So why I am saying that early childhood education is important, because whenever you are sending your children at an early age to schools, then that child will have good ability to understand society. So even I went to school at 2.5 years. Even my mother used to say that I didn't used to speak every word fluently. So even though they send me to school at 2.5 years of age. So one thing I will strongly believe is children who will go to school after 5 years. If the children they are going to school less than 3 years or 2.5 years or 4 years, so children who are going to school at early age, they will be having a wide range of different behavior than compared to that of children who is going school very late. Okay, so because here early childhood education, which is a very important, and it plays an important role, especially learning and entire capabilities of their child's lifetime. Because whenever children who is going to school, he will come across different pupils who will be sitting in that class. So they will start understanding society at a very early age, right? So they will be very much capable to withstand in this society, in this competitive society, whenever they will be getting old. Okay, so because of this, I strongly believe that early childhood education is very important for each and every child. So during this COVID-19, what happened? So this early child education is totally disrupted, because many parents, they used to send their children for at least Anganwadis or preschools or play schools, right? So due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so these Anganwadis had been shut down. Now there is no priority which is given for early childhood development services, especially in these Anganwadi services. So in Anganwadi services, whenever we are sending our child, they will be getting daily one boiled egg. So actually I saw that in my village, children, they used to go to Anganwadi center mainly to eat egg. especially poor students, poor children especially, they will go to centers and they will eat egg, and after eating it they will run to house. Okay, they will run to house and they will be not sitting there and they will be not writing anything, just they will go for eating their egg. So this is the reality I saw in my village. Some children, they will go like that. So here, because of this, Anganwadi school centers, they mainly closed. So because of this, what happened, there is no proper nutrition for children, especially they will be providing some protein powder. Okay, so children, they will also attracted to that protein powder. And next one is, there is no proper education services, right? So where this education, that is early childhood education, is mainly continually disrupted due to this COVID-19 pandemic. So now, because of closure of Anganwadi centers and play schools, now this is became burden for parents. Okay, so because most of the time these children, they will be staying in house along with their parents. So now here the parents, they need to take responsibility for imparting at least basic education at their childhood. So in the recent study, which is mainly conducted by this Vidhi Center for Legal Policy, it mainly said that 45% of 650 plus households they surveyed, especially in Maharashtra, they reported that they prioritizing their older child's education than compared to that of here early childhood education. So when we are comparing with the age, so here elder children, they will be giving priority then compared to that of this younger children. So this is the survey which is mainly done by this Vidhi Center in Maharashtra, and totally this article which is written based on this study. Okay, so now let us try to talk about what are the crucial factors. So if you're talking about crucial factors, now households, they need to prioritize this early childhood education. So in this early childhood education, now there is no Anganwadi services, there is no play schools. So now who will take this responsibility? That is obviously parents. So active parental engagement in their child education is very, very important, especially children who are between 3 to 6 years of age. And this one is overall development of a child in early stages, edicts, conducive home environment, and as well as parent involvement, in addition to equitable access to school. So when we are sending our children to school here, not only here, whenever we are sending our children to school, so it is not, we should not think that it is not our responsibility, it is a responsibility of school and as well as teacher. So here parents is also very, very important, and parents' role is also very important, because home which creates a conducive environment for children to study. Yes, right? So if you are talking about when we are creating a home environment, and parents, whenever they are coming in interactions with the children, and whenever parents, they are trying to impart early education to the children, then that will be very, very helpful for overall development of child throughout their lifetime. And if you are talking about role of parental engagement, so enabling parental engagement in this early childhood education, which mainly requires understanding of barriers. So yes, parents, they obviously want to make their child to be successful. Every parent, each and every parent, they will, okay, they want to make their child a successful parent. There is no parent in this world to make their children bad, right? So every parent, they will try their level best, mainly to make their children successful. So there are many case studies I can say. Even an auto driver, they want to make their children successful. So there are many UPSC final toppers, they are from a very, very small background, like auto rickshaw pullers, like that. So not only this, there are number of case studies that we can see in our daily life, that every parents, even though they are doing some daily wage laborers also, they are trying to send their children to schools, right? So because of this, we can say like parent engagement is very, very important for overall development of children, but there are many barriers that parents are facing. First one is, they do not have proper socio-economic background. Okay, so because of there is no proper socio-economic background, so before sending their children to school, for example in the preschools, in their house, they are not going to invest much on their early childhood education. So this is first important thing. And this one is, there is lack of priority for this early childhood education, because parents might be thinking that after sending into school, then they will be focused on education. So before that, there is no need of taking care of education. So there is a lack of priority. And next one is pandemic highlighted that there is a digital divide. So even though parents, when they want to send their children to school now, most of the schools they are running online, right? So because of this, many parents they can't afford for this digital gadgets. So that is also leading to digital divide. And not only that, one important problem that we are facing in urban areas is, even though if you are having money, even though if you are having knowledge, even though if you are having teaching skills, they do not have time, especially mothers like me. Okay, I'm not getting time to spend with my children, especially in their childhood care. So even though if I am getting time, so the children mainly focus not more than 5 minutes. So this is the bare fact I want to share with you. So even though if I want to sit my kid and if I want to teach him alphabets 1 2 3 like that, so they will be sit only for 5 times, only for 5 minutes, not more than that. So in these 5 minutes, whatever I say, they will be like saying, they will be repeating after me. So whenever they are seeing images like, if I say A for apple, immediately my kid is saying like, Mama, apple is there in fridge, I want to eat apple now. So if I am saying like B for ball, so Mama, where is my ball? So I have to play with my ball. So if they see any images, Mama, they are playing, so let's go out and let's gonna play. So these are the things that will be repeated. So even if I am trying to make him to sit, but he will be not sit and he will be not focusing not more than 5 minutes. So because of this, many parents they will say that just for 5 minutes, how much time should I sit? Okay, so this is the thing that is happening in reality, especially in urban areas. So if you're talking about this study which mainly says that, so Maharashtra during this COVID-19 pandemic, so they mainly did this study, right? So in this survey they found that, so because of many parents who lost their job, there is no proper livelihood, there is no proper income. So because of this there is no, whenever there is no job or whenever there is no income, so parents are also deprioritizing education. So they are not coming forward mainly to invest in child education. They are not going to get digital resources, right? And next one is, even among some households, even if they are able to create time for education, there is lack of self-efficiency. So many parents do not understand how to make set and how to make their child to learn something. Okay, and most of the parents they lack knowledge of effective methods that can be incorporated. Okay, so they don't know how to use technology, right? So these are some important barriers. And now let us try to see some solutions to overcome these barriers. First one is, we need to get a proper support from state and as well as schools and teachers towards goal of enabling parent engagement at home. So here government need to provide some awareness campaigns or can come up with some advertisements regarding how to engage children in education. Government can provide some programs on televisions or nowadays radio, which is not used at all, right? So from televisions, government can come up with some channels exclusively for the kids, for especially for this early childhood care and early childhood education. They can come up with some alphabets or some numbers or some animals, colors, etc. So they can come up with different initiatives. Okay, because as we all know, there is digital divide, especially in urban areas. Here parents they can show children in their tablets or systems or desktops or mobile phones. They can teach something like colors, something like animals, which children they are interested. But in rural areas, parents they can't, right? There is digital divide, they can't even offer. So for those children, here government can provide some separate television channels such that here that will be focusing on this early childhood education. And even government can bring primary teachers, okay, kindergarten teachers who mainly create some interest in studies, especially they can also come up with this type of programs. And next one is, this pandemic mainly created an opportunity here where parents and teachers they have increasingly recognized the crucial role of parents as partners in their child education. So now here parents should also realize that, so not only child education it is responsibility of teachers and schools, it is also their responsibility. And if you're talking some case studies here, Maharashtra government which came up with these two programs for this early childhood education. First one is e-Pathshala and second one is Rocket Learning. So under these programs here, this study found out that, so these programs mainly increased higher level of engagement of parents in this early childhood education. So under this e-Pathshala, it is a design, so under which So here education will be done by using materials which are available in their homes. For example, there will be different colors which may be available. For example, there are different vegetables and fruits will be available. So by using whatever the materials which are present in home, so by using them we can go for imparting of education, that is early childhood education. So in this way, whenever we are trying to impart education our children with the whatever materials which are present in our home, that will be helpful to minimize our investments as well. So parents will be more enthusiastically, they will engage this, right? So here one more thing here is finally we can do some parents, we can give some finances from government side, so they can get some finance such that they can provide some rations, devices for education, especially regarding this early childhood education. For example, the government can provide some toys, that is education toys like charts which contains alphabets, and we can also get like I also saw many educational toys on online, like, so there will be diary system which is present, and those parts of those diary system will be removable. So we need to say children like, so this is our eyes, this is our ears, so this is stomach, this is heart. So we should ask children to make place them in their position, such that it will be also helpful for imparting of learning and they will understand some basics, right? So here this study also highlighted that it is a more decentralized approach, and we need to focus on how can we remove barriers in this early childhood education. Okay, so in this thing we can say like, so this is the role of both teacher and as well as schools and also even parents. So what is the way forward? We need to empower first of all households. So empowering of households will be very important mainly to achieve our target of this early childhood education. Okay, and government need to provide some non-education support for especially low income households, and government need to provide some schemes such that it will be helpful for coming out of this lack of insecurity, like food insecurities and as well as income insecurities and as well as investments in education, etc. So, and finally we can collect information about the teachers and as well as experiences of those teachers, how they will handle these kindergarten students in their schools, such that they can share their experiences with parents, such that parents can also try to make their child to sit for so and so time, such that they can learn some important things. So this is about this topic and I hope it is very clear. And there are some other topics in news like perils of ideological certitude. It is about ideology. So this article may written by our former vice president, so you can refer that. And so it is about India-China border. It is again in page number 6. Already we discussed this topic from last 2 days, so I skipped that. If you want, you can refer that. And there are most of the articles in today's newspaper regarding this COP26. So I think those are not much relevant now. So after once this COP26 is done, we will be getting bundles of articles. So there we can extract what's important from our UPSC. And I will also try to come up with a separate video regarding this COP26 after once it is done. And next article in yesterday's paper here is about Podu. This Podu, it is shifting cultivation that is mainly seen in state of Telangana, and it became one issue in Telangana. So this article I collected from Indian Express. And next topic is about Anda cell. Anda cell, it is nothing but it is nothing like a jail. So this it is high security jail. And here what happened, one activist that is Gautam Navleka mainly arrested, and he kept in this Anda cell. So you need to know about Anda cell. Okay, you have to Google it and you have to refer that. And next one is there is climate vulnerability index, that is mainly released by think tank, that is CEEW. Okay, so you have to also refer that. So these are some important topics, they are in news. So if you are interested, and if you feel those are important, you can refer that. So by this I am concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.